Okay, welcome everyone. Let's start seated. Finding your comfortable seat. Letting the soles of the feet rest down. Letting the backs of your thighs feel heavy, your bum feel heavy in the chair. Taking a couple of breaths just to settle in. Letting the spine get long. Maybe even an audible sigh this morning if that would feel good. As many times as it feels good. And then letting the breathing get a little bit quiet. It might feel good to sway a little bit on your chair, finding that even distribution of weight between both sides of your bum, between both sitting bones. And then once you find your center, really reaching the crown of the head up. Keeping the chin about parallel with the ground. Maybe it might feel like a slight tuck. And then softening the shoulders down, letting the hands rest wherever they feel good, whether that's palms down on your thighs or knees or palms up. Letting the elbows feel a bit heavy. As we settle in, it might feel good to close your eyes or to keep the gaze soft if the eyes stay open. Just following your breath pattern, noticing the breath for a few cycles. After a couple of rounds of observing the breath, how would it feel to allow the breath to deepen or slow down just a little bit? How would it feel to soften the forehead, soften the jaw? Maybe again softening the shoulders if any tension has crept in. If you're holding the belly in, how would it feel to soften the belly? Allowing for a little bit of easier flow of the inhale and the exhale. As you're ready, very slowly, let's start moving into the head by tipping the chin down towards the chest on an exhale. With your inhale as it arrives, we can tip the head back up, maybe tipping towards the ceiling a little bit without cranking into the neck, keeping the back of the neck nice and long. And continuing to move with your breath, exhaling to tip the chin down, inhaling to lift the head. Eyes can remain closed or they could be open here, whatever feels natural and good in your body. If you usually do it with eyes open or usually do it with eyes closed, maybe trying the opposite just to see, testing out the differences. And then coming back to center as you're ready. No rush to get here. Observing any sensations in the neck, in the shoulders, in the base of the skull as you arrive back in center. And then let's move the head from side to side, again, keeping the chin parallel this time. We'll turn the head, maybe turning to gaze over your left shoulder. As your inhale arrives, coming back to center. And then exhaling to look over your right shoulder or in that direction. Inhaling back to center. Moving with your breath. Noticing your breath pattern, following your rhythm. And again, option to keep eyes open or closed. And if you usually do it one way, maybe testing out the other way. Noticing any areas of stickiness, any noises. When you feel you've done both sides evenly, eventually making your way back to center. Noticing any sensations. And then we'll tip the head from side to side, starting with an inhale, in center. As you exhale, tipping left ear down towards left shoulder, stretching into the right side of the neck. Maybe breathing here for a breath or two. Maybe making the shoulders a little heavy. And coming back up to center when you're ready. Taking a breath in center. Noticing any difference from one side of the neck to the other. And then when your next exhale arrives, tipping right ear to right shoulder. Stretching into the left side of the neck this time. Spending a couple of breaths here. Maybe again, softening the shoulders down or making them a little heavier. And then making your way back up through center as you're ready. And pausing again to notice sensation. Let's move into the shoulders a little bit. For this morning, let's bring fingertips to shoulders. The elbows can stay low, at least to begin. And then from here, starting to stretch the elbows away from your body as much as feels good. So maybe they come all the way out to parallel, maybe they stay down a little bit. So finding your perfect area, your perfect position for your arms. From here, let's move the elbows in some circles, gentle circles. Switching directions as you're ready. And then coming back to a starting position wherever your elbows felt good, whatever distance from your body they felt good. And we'll move right into a side bend. So setting up your feet and hips, keeping those really stable, sit bones glued to the chair. Inhaling a nice tall spine. As you exhale, tipping over to one side. Inhaling back up to center. And exhaling to the other side. Do about 2 more on each side, following your breath. Moving to your rhythm. Keeping the sit bones so heavy so that you can stretch your side away from your sit bone. And then when you've done both sides, about twice more, coming back to center. Let's release the fingertips from the elbows as you're ready. And noticing any sensations that come up. Maybe the fingers have a little bit more, or the palms have a little bit more sensation, sort of sparkling or a little bit more of an alive feeling. Maybe you feel a bit more in the shoulders. Just noticing what you feel. And then to do our twist, we'll start the same way. Again, we'll bring our fingertips to the shoulders. Stretching the elbows out as much as feels good. The elbows could also hang down by your sides if that feels better. Inhaling nice and tall. Keeping the feet stable as you exhale, let's turn towards the left. Then inhaling back to center. And exhaling towards the right. Inhaling back to center as you're ready, following your breath, continuing to move. Exhaling to twist. And inhaling to come back. Put 1 more on each side. Releasing the hands, coming back to center as you're ready. Noticing sensation. And let's move into our cats and cow variation. So I'll turn sideways. Hopefully you can see my movement even though I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I can take it off if it's not very visible. Chillier today than it has been lately, at least in my house. So starting off with hands on the knees or thighs, finding a nice tall and neutral spine again, keeping the sit bones very secure and sturdy. With an exhale, let's push the thighs or knees away, drawing the belly back towards the spine. The shoulder blades might pull apart gently and the chin might tuck. And with an inhale, we'll draw the chest forward, pulling through the upper arms. Shoulder blades might pull towards each other and the gaze might lift slightly. Again, to exhale, rounding the spine, pushing the knees away, spreading the shoulder blades apart gently. And inhaling to draw chest and belly forward, shoulder blades pull together. 2 or 3 more rounds, moving with your own breath. Maybe focusing your attention or awareness a little bit more on the shoulder blades. When you've had enough, coming back to a neutral spine, letting the crown of the head lift, and resetting in our tall seat. Shifting forward in your seat just a little bit so that your thighs and hips have a little more room to move. You can start off with feet about hip width distance apart, and we still want the sit bones nice and stable. Let's start by using the right knee option today. Either reaching right down and pulling the right thigh up towards you, or you can try bringing the thigh up towards you with no hands. Maybe coming up onto the toes, maybe the foot lifts any amount, and then coming to lift your thigh. Once you're supporting your thigh, resetting the spine. Can you bring the crown of the head up again? Can the shoulders stay more or less broad, keeping the integrity of your seat? And then let's just start by moving the knee in and out. Not circles yet, but just maintaining that nice tall spine while allowing the leg to move. Okay, now we'll move into a couple of circles in each direction, as big or small as you like. Let's say about 3 circles, and then switching. Coming back to more or less the center, bringing your leg back to the starting position. Resetting your spine again, finding that integrity, broad shoulders. Ankle circles, a couple in one direction, and then in the other direction. Pointing and flexing the foot a few times, toes to the floor, toes pulling up towards your shin. And then let's release right foot back down to the mat or the floor. And just scanning from one side to the other, noticing difference in hips, and thighs, and knees, shin, foot, maybe toes. And then we'll start on the other side. Same option, either just reaching down and bringing your thigh up towards you, or we can try the no hands version. Lifting your foot, bringing your knee or thigh in towards your chest as close as possible before grasping underneath the thigh, finding the support. Resetting the spine once your thigh is in hand. Crown of the head up, nice neutral spine, broad shoulders. And we'll start moving the thigh just in and out to the left and back. Keeping the integrity of the spine as much as possible. And then we'll start to move this knee in circles. About 3 in each direction. Switching when you're ready. And then coming back to our starting position, holding underneath the thigh, resetting the spine, and then finding some ankle circles. First in one direction, and then switching directions. Let's point and flex the foot a few times. And then releasing left foot down to the floor, giving yourself a moment to notice sensations, any differences between each side, any difference in the experience from one side to the other as well. It might be interesting to notice. All right, let's move into our sun salutations. So setting up so that either the feet are about hip width distance apart, if that feels good, or the feet could be a little bit wider, knowing that we're coming into a forward fold. It might feel good to have some more space for the torso to move through. So deciding where you want to be, options for the legs, any distance that feels good. And then we set up for our arm variations. When I say sweep your arms up and overhead, it could be that your arms sweep down and wide to the sides. It might be that they stretch out wide, fingertips reaching to opposite sides of the room. It might be that cactus would feel good today. Or maybe the arms reach up in a wide V. Or maybe today the fingertips want to touch, coming almost into a prayer position over your head. So any of these variations are at your disposal. So setting up legs, taking a moment to decide where your arms are headed, what would feel good. We'll do this 3 times, and you can choose a different variation each time. As you're ready, with an inhale, let's sweep the arms wherever they're headed. Exhaling to bring hands back to thighs. With an inhale, let's draw chest and belly forward, cow pose, gaze might lift. Exhaling to push the knees away, rounding the spine, Halloween cat shape. Inhaling back to a tall and neutral spine. Exhaling to our forward fold. Forearms might come to thighs, fingertips might trace the shins, or your fingers might come to the floor. With your next inhale, we'll sweep right arm up into a twist. Exhaling the right arm back down. Inhaling left arm up into a twist. Exhaling left arm back down. Your next inhale brings you back to a tall seat, sweeping the arms wherever they feel good. And exhaling, hands back down to the thighs, coming back to our neutral spine, tall seat. For our second sun salutation, adjusting whatever would feel good, maybe adjusting feet. Deciding where your arms headed for our second round. And here we go again. As you're ready, inhale, sweeping arms wherever they're headed. Exhaling, hands to the thighs. Inhaling to draw the chest forward, belly forward, gaze lifts, shoulder blades pull towards each other. Exhaling to draw shoulder blades apart, belly toward the spine, gaze lowers. Inhaling back to a tall and neutral spine. Exhaling to fold forward. Forearms might come to knees, fingertips might trace shins, or hands might come to the floor. With an inhale, we'll sweep right arm up into a twist. Exhaling the right arm back down. Inhaling left arm up into a twist. Exhaling left arm back down. Next inhale brings us back to our tall seat, arms sweep wherever they head. Exhaling, hands back to the thighs. Beautiful. Round 3, adjusting legs as needed or desired. Deciding on where your hands will head for this last seated sun salutation. And as you're ready, with an inhale, sweeping the arms wherever they're headed. Exhaling, hands back to the thighs. Inhaling to draw chest and belly forward, shoulder blades pull towards each other. Exhaling to your Halloween cat shape, chin tucks. Inhaling back to a tall and neutral spine. Exhaling to fold forward, forearms to thighs, fingertips to shins, or maybe fingertips to the floor. Inhaling to sweep the right arm up into a twist. Exhaling, right arm back down. Inhaling, left arm sweeps up into a twist. Exhale, left arm back down. Inhaling brings us back to our tall seat. Arms sweep wherever they're headed. Exhaling, hands back to thighs. Pausing for a moment, noticing any effects of the sun salutation, any flow of energy or heat that you might feel. And before we move to standing, let's do a seated forward fold. So we'll stretch the legs out, coming up onto the heels if that feels okay. Knees can be a little bit bent, but moving them towards as straight as possible. No pain. A gentle stretch perhaps in the backs of the legs, if anything. Feet are flexed, so the toes are pulling up towards your shins. And then finding your tall seat, maybe hands could come to hips, or if it feels better to reach down your legs, we could reach down the legs. I find that with hands on hips, we're more likely to keep the shoulders broad and to keep the spine in its correct position. So inhaling nice and tall. As you exhale, tipping forward any amount. We're not looking for pain, but maybe just a bit more of a stretch in the back of the legs. When your next inhale comes, let's come back up. And then exhale forward once more. Let's move with breath 2 or 3 times. Inhaling up and exhaling to fold. The next time you land in your fold, stay here. From here, imagining keeping your spine nice and long, then maybe the fingertips can reach down your thighs or knees or shins. Then let's come back up to seated. Releasing the legs, letting the feet come back to the floor. And then giving yourself a moment, noticing any sensations, backs of the legs, with the feet flexed, sometimes there's a sensation in the front of the shins as well. So just noticing what you feel. And then let's come to standing and we'll move into some standing variations of a sun salutation. I won't bring you through chair, just coming up any way that feels good. Let's start by finding ourselves facing the backrest of the chair, and we'll find a chair version of a down dog before we get into our sun salutation standing. So letting the hands rest on the backrest of the chair, walking the feet back any amount. Feet can be quite wide, knees can be bent, and reaching the tailbone in one direction and the crown of the head in the other. It might feel good to sway a little bit from one leg to the other if we're wagging our tails. Or it might feel better just to find a little bit of stillness and length in the spine. We'll stay here for a breath or two if it feels okay. Making your way back up to standing as you're ready. No rush. Eventually meeting in standing. And then we'll flip the chair so that we're actually facing the seat of the chair. And the measuring distance, when you fold forward, we want to be able to, our palms to reach the seat of the chair. A nice stable distance. So not as far as a down dog would be, but so that it's a good, comfortable distance. Then coming back to standing, finding your strong mountain pose so that the feet are a nice distance apart. The toes could be touching if that's in your practice, but it often feels more stable to have feet at least hip width distance apart, maybe even a little wider. Letting the crown of the head lift again, finding our standing version of our tall and neutral spine. The same hand options apply for our standing sun salutations. So as we move, the hands might come wide and low. They might reach out to the sides. They might reach up into cactus or up overhead or hands meeting. So you've got all of this whole continuum, anywhere from reaching down, fingertips down towards the floor or up towards the sky, anywhere in there that feels good. So as you're ready, let's sweep the arms wherever they're headed. As you exhale, let's bend into the knees and reach the fingertips down the legs as far as feels okay. Deep, generous bend in the knees. With your next inhale, we'll stretch into the legs, straightening the legs any amount. And then exhaling to bend again. Let's do that one more time. Inhaling to straighten. Exhaling to bend again. Then bringing the palms of the hands to the seat of the chair. Breathing here, almost in this parallel shape. Knees can remain bent if that feels good. And then let's step the right foot back, coming into a variation of a lunge. Pausing here for a moment, maybe stretching down into the right heel, as though it could reach towards the ground. And then let's step the right foot forward again. Pausing for a moment in our halfway lift or spine parallel to the floor. And then let's step the left foot back, coming into a high lunge on this side. Maybe imagining that the left heel could reach down towards the floor, stretching into the back of the left leg. Pausing here for a breath or two. And then let's step the left foot forward, coming back to our halfway lift. When your next exhale arrives, bending the knees. And then with your inhale, stretching the arms wherever they're headed to bring you back to standing. And releasing the hands back down by your sides. Giving yourself a moment back in this tall and neutral standing position. And we'll move through that again. As you're ready, you could choose a different hand variation if it would feel good. Inhaling to sweep the arms wherever they're headed. As you exhale, bending the knees generously and reaching down your legs. Inhaling to straighten the legs any amount. Exhaling to bend them again. One more time, inhaling to straighten any amount. Exhaling to bend. Bringing the hands to the seat of the chair. Pausing in this halfway lift or parallel spine position. As you're ready, stepping the right foot back, coming up onto the toes. Maybe reaching down into the right heel, stretching into the right back of the leg. Pausing here for a breath or two. When you're ready, stepping the right foot forward again. Pausing in this halfway lift or parallel spine. As you're ready, we'll step the left foot back, coming up onto the toes, the left toes. Maybe reaching down into the heel, stretching towards the floor, stretching into the back of the left leg. When you're ready, stepping the left foot forward once more. Coming back to that halfway lift, neutral, parallel spine. When your next exhale arrives, let's bend the knees. With your inhale coming back up to standing, sweeping the arms wherever they're headed. And then releasing the hands down by your sides. We'll move through that once more with an added complication option. It's certainly not a mandatory one. Finding that tall spine again, strong standing stance. With an inhale, sweeping the arms wherever you'd like them to head this time. Exhaling to bend knees generously, reaching down your legs as far as feels okay. Inhaling to straighten into the legs any amount. Exhaling to bend. Inhaling again to straighten into the legs any amount. Exhaling to bend. Bringing the palms to the seat of the chair, finding that halfway lift, spine parallel to the floor position. Pausing here for a breath or two. Knees can be bent. Then let's step the right foot back. High lunge. This might actually be more of a runner's lunge since our hands are low. Here's where we have a decision. Either the foot can step forward again like we've done, or if you're feeling really strong, you could think about lifting the left foot off the ground. If the left foot lifts, you could step back to a plank. If the left foot does not lift, then let's step the right foot forward. If you're in plank, we'll step the right foot forward from here. And if you're both feet parallel at the front, closer to the chair, we'll step the left foot back, coming into the other side. So we should all end up with right foot forward and left foot back. Again, stretching the heel towards the floor, stretching into the back of the left leg. And then let's step the left foot forward, coming back to our parallel spine, parallel to the floor, halfway lift. When your next exhale arrives, bending into the knees. With an inhale, coming all the way back to standing. And releasing the hands back down by your sides. Pausing for a moment, finding any wiggling or shaking that just needs to come out. We'll move through it one more time, now that you kind of know where I'm headed with the optional complication, the plank variation. Last one, deciding where your arms are headed. With an inhale, let's sweep the hands wherever they're going. Exhaling to bend the knees, folding forward, reaching down your legs. Inhaling to straighten the legs any amount. Exhaling to fold them again. Inhaling to straighten. Exhaling to fold. Bringing the hands to the seat of the chair. Let's step the left foot back this time, just for a variation. Pausing here, breathing some space into the back of the left leg, reaching left heel towards the ground. And here's where our option comes. Either if the right foot can lift off the ground, and you can test it. If it does not lift, then we'll step the left foot forward. If the right foot comes off the ground, you could step it back to meet the left, coming into a plank variation. If you're in plank, we'll step the left foot forward. And if your feet are parallel towards the chair, we'll step the right foot back. Coming into lunge on the other side. Reaching down through the right heel, stretching into the back of the right leg this time. When you're ready, stepping the right foot forward. Finding that halfway lift position, so hands are still supported by the chair, knees can be bent. When your next exhale arrives, bending the knees a little more. Inhaling to come all the way back to standing, sweeping the arms up or wherever they're headed. And exhaling, hands back down to your side. Beautiful, everyone. Finding any wiggling that feels good. We'll find a little bit of balance. So let's come back so that we have the support of the backrest of the chair, or a wall if you have handy access to a wall, whatever is most convenient. So feet, again, can be hip width distance apart. With balance, I like to bring my feet as close as possible together so that I don't throw myself off as soon as I lift one foot. Let's start by balancing on our left foot. And we'll let the right foot start to get light. Maybe coming up just onto the tip of your toe. And then let's swing the right knee out towards the right. Now this might be a good place to stay with your kickstand, toe on the floor, and maybe the hands lift. Or maybe it would feel better to lift the foot off the ground, coming either onto the ankle or shin, avoiding the knee, and balancing here. Maybe the kickstand comes down every now and then. Maybe your hand catches you. Remembering to breathe, maybe finding a focal point on the floor, a couple of feet in front of you. And then as you're ready, let's bring the right knee forward again. Stretching the foot out and lifting as high as possible before releasing the right foot to the ground. Beautiful, maybe shaking out the standing leg if the arch is talking to you. And we'll switch sides. If you'd like to just switch directions so the other hand has access to the chair, that's a possibility, or switching sides, letting the other hand support you. Finding that starting stance, feet sort of as close together as feels okay. Shifting the weight to the right foot and starting to lift the left, coming up onto left toes. From here, let's swing left knee out to the left. And this might be a good place to stay with your kickstand so that not all of the weight is on your standing leg. You've got a little bit of support. Or maybe the foot lifts and comes to the shin or the ankle, avoiding the knee. Maybe the hand stays on the chair for support. Maybe they lift. You've got all your hand variations for this one. We could do hands on hips, hands in prayer, swaying branches, reaching overhead, anything that feels good. Breathing, remembering to breathe, maybe finding your focal point on the floor. Then as you're ready, let's swing left knee forward again. We're stretching the leg out, pointing the toe, lifting the leg as high as possible before releasing to the ground. Beautiful. Little wiggle, little shaking out of the standing arch. And let's find a down dog. Resting the hands or wrists on the backrest of the chair. Walking the feet back. Feet can be wide, knees can be bent. Reaching the tailbone in one direction, crown of the head in the other. And we'll spend a couple of breaths here if it feels okay. Imagining that you're breathing space in between each of your vertebrae. And slowly coming back towards the chair, coming back to standing. Pausing as you arrive. Before we move back to seated, let's do just a couple more spine things while we're standing. Let's find a standing side bend. So letting the feet be at least hip width distance apart. Toes are about parallel, the feet are parallel facing forward. Let's bring either hands to hips, if that would feel good today. Or you could reach arms up and overhead as though you were holding a beach ball. So whatever kind of feels right for you this morning, your variation. Pushing the feet strongly into the ground. And as you exhale, we'll tip over to one side. Almost like you could Reach your hip out to the side, but keeping the feet really grounded. Then inhaling back to center. And exhaling in the other direction, kind of making a banana shape, crescent. Coming back to center as you're ready. Maybe switching the variation of the arms, maybe fingertips to shoulders. We'll do that again. Inhaling, tipping to one side. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling to the other side. Inhaling back to center. Releasing the hands. Be shaking out the hands a little bit. Let's find some wrist circles. Hands can be open or you can make fists. Switching directions as you're ready. And let's make our way to seated. Finding that nice tall and neutral seat. Letting the hands this time be palms up. And we'll move into the fingers a little bit before we officially close or move back to observing our breathing. I'll come closer to the camera so you can see what I'm doing. In succession, we'll start with bringing the tip of the right finger, or the tip of first fingers to the tip of the thumb. Pausing there for a breath. And then moving to middle finger to tip of thumb. Releasing when you're ready, tip of ring finger to tip of thumb. Releasing tip of pinky to tip of thumb. And releasing. And then moving through that sequence, one finger to the other. Doesn't have to be with breath. Moving from first finger to middle finger to ring finger to pinky. First finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky. First finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky. That actually goes with sound. There's a chanting that goes with this one. Kirtan Kriya. It's supposed to be good for memory and executive function. So we won't do the full practice because it would be 12 minutes. But as you touch your first finger to thumb, it's sa, ta, middle finger, na, ring finger, ma, pinky finger. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. That is the gist of the practice. If you're interested at any point in doing a full 12 minutes, we could add that on to the end of a practice one day. Before we officially close, releasing the sound, releasing the fingertips, allowing your hands to rest back down on your lap or wherever it's comfortable. Bringing your awareness back to your breath. Maybe softening the forehead again. Noticing if there's any tension in the shoulders, in the belly. Just allowing your body to breathe for the next 4 or 5 breath cycles. Eyes can be open or closed. And slowly, as you're ready, hands can stay where they are, eyes might flutter open. Hands can come over your heart or in a prayer position. Sending gratitude to yourself, first of all, for making the time to move and breathe in community. for honoring your body and breath. With gratitude for allowing me to guide you through this practice today. And with gratitude to all the students and teachers who have come before us, passing this practice on. Peace. Thank you all so much for joining me today.